I'm a nurse, and in my work in the hospital I started to become aware of the impacts of the hostile environment, and the kind of different ways in which new bits of government policy was making it much more difficult for certain people to access services or just carry out their life in the UK. And through that I started reading a bit more about all of the different ways the hostile environment would impact people, whether through kind of right to work checks or right to rent checks, or through checks on bank accounts, and kind of started to piece together this complete picture of what was happening and the kind of totality really of this policy that was making it so difficult for people to live. And then I think Haringey Welcome, I heard about them and I kind of saw in Haringey Welcome what I thought was really the key part of a key part of the response to that policy, which is kind of pulling together all of the different elements of it. Because often what you find is that different industries end up being siloed, and so people kind of respond to the hostile environment in their own area of work, whether you're a teacher or a healthcare worker. What Haringey Welcome does really well is that it pulls all of that stuff together and has a very holistic approach to the problem, and that's what drew me to coming to hang out with them. Because I was in A&E, and the way the charges apply, they don't, A&E care is exempt from charging, but we were witnessing people turned away anyway. People who would try and access dialysis, for example, would be turned away until their potassium was in a life-threatening range, or we'd witness people who would have their care delayed as a result of them or their relatives having to fill in immigration information before they could be put on the system on arrival. And that was something that really started to ramp up after they brought in the regulations in 2017 that brought in upfront charging in the NHS, which was the kind of the principal healthcare part of the hostile environment policy. I think Haringey Welcome are really pioneering the way in which communities will respond on a local level to what is a very system-wide policy, and yeah, doing really incredible work in engaging and trying to leverage the power of the local authority to resist government policy. I think what's really powerful about Haringey Welcome is that it's led by people in the local community, people who are very embedded in the local community and have been here for a long time, and they do a really great job of kind of bridging from, without actually kind of providing frontline advocacy services, bridging the gap also to people who are experiencing firsthand the effects of the hostile environment. And I think those two things in combination are what make Haringey Welcome particularly powerful. I think for me, given that I work on the hostile environment at a kind of national policy level, I think what is most drawing for me about being involved in Haringey Welcome is seeing how that's lived out on the ground, and being able to kind of draw inspiration from the work you guys are doing, and then feed that back into how we start to kind of mirror that response in different places in the UK. When I'm not being a nurse, my job is I'm Access to Healthcare campaigner at a charity called MedAct, who are a global health charity that are a member-led healthcare worker organisation, support healthcare workers to take action on various kind of political issues, from climate change to disarmament. And in that job I run the Access to Healthcare campaign, which is a campaign that opposes the introduction of charging in the NHS, most specifically the introduction of upfront charging over the last year. And in that campaign we work to support healthcare workers across the country to lobby and kind of push their trusts to have a position that is opposed to healthcare charging generally. Our model of organising is that decentralised campaigns are the most effective way to create change, and that it's really important to kind of listen and to hear the knowledge of people wherever they are, and that people know the kind of avenues of power and the routes to change in their local communities, and that being able to kind of harness that and then coordinate the impact of those kind of local level changes to create a national response is the most powerful way. So we organise in a decentralised way like that at MedAct. And I think Haringey Welcome is a kind of very similar response basically, but to a slightly different problem. And I think there's certainly movement across the country to replicate the model of Haringey Welcome. And I think that's why it's interesting to me to be here.